the position in the car. For example, I indicates the instrument panel, E indicates the engine compartment, and B indicates the body. The section on power sources shows the connections for all power sources. For example, the systems for which this 30 amp AM2 fuse acts as the power source are the following. Or, if we want to know what systems the individual fuses act as power sources for, we can consult this chart. For example, if a 20 amp dome fuse blows, we know this will affect these systems. Next are the various system circuits. Since we will look at these in detail later on, let's go on to the next section. The section on the grounding points also shows all ground wires, so you can see at a glance which systems share the same grounding. Finally, there is the overall electrical wiring diagram. With this, it is possible to see the connections from the power sources to the actuators and sensors for each system. Now let's return to the table of contents for the circuitry for individual systems. For example, when we want to examine the headlight system, we turn to page 186. When we open to page 186, we see the system circuitry for the headlight system. This includes the daytime running lights for left-hand drive vehicles. As you can see, the system circuitry is listed on different pages, depending on the vehicle specifications, so you must consult the applicable page. The page following the system circuitry gives service hints, such as the operations of the relays and switches. The voltages of the terminals in a circuit are sometimes listed in the same service hints column. There are also cases where an outline of the system is given. This is because it is necessary to know the operation of the system for the purposes of troubleshooting. After service hints comes the location of the parts appearing in the system circuit, as well as information on relay blocks and splice points. Also listed here are connector configurations and terminal numbers. The number shown here is the terminal number. The black dot indicates a terminal that is not used with this system, but rather with another system. An X indicates that the position is empty. Let us now see how to read a system circuit diagram. In every system, the power source side is at the top, and the grounding point is at the bottom. Let's look at this in more detail. This is a fusible link. The number 2.0 indicates the area of the cross-section of the wire. L is the L from blue and indicates that the color of the wire is blue. The wires connecting the parts are indicated by their actual color as well as by letters of the alphabet. B indicates black. RL indicates blue lines on a red wire. The part shaded in black is a junction block. The oval indicates the connector connected to it. The number in the oval is the junction block number. The number to the side of the oval is the terminal number. In this case, for example, the wire harness from the fusible link is connected to the number 2 terminal of the connector for 2F of junction block number 2. When we want to find out the location of the number 2 terminal of 2F, we look at the reference page on the right. If we look at 2F, It shows engine wire harness and junction block number 2. If we look at page 56, there is a description of junction block number 2. 2F is at this position in the junction block. This is terminal number 2. Let's look at the location of junction block number 2. For junction block number 2, it is indicated that we should consult page 50 for the location in the engine compartment. Included on page 50 is the location of junction block number 2. This corresponds to this part. Let's return now to the headlight circuitry. Remember that this octagon indicates a splice point. It actually looks like this. The first letter is I. That means it's a splice point in a wire harness running behind the instrument panel. By looking at the reference page, we can get more detailed information on the location. Next, the items in blue indicate parts other than junction blocks. In other words, in the case of this circuit, it indicates the battery, relay block, bulbs, diodes, and combination switch. Numbers such as D3 or C11 indicate connectors for various parts. Also, the numbers written by the wires show the terminal numbers of the wires. Next, let's look at the relay block. As in the case of the junction block, the number in the oval indicates the relay block number. In this case, it is relay block number 5. Next, this symbol indicates a harness-to-harness connector. This arrow indicates a male terminal. In this case, the top is the male and the bottom is the female. If we look at the wire harness between the headlight relay and dimmer relay, we see that they are indicated with a red wire and a white wire. Refer to the notes in parentheses for an explanation of this. These two types of wire harness are never used with the same vehicle model. There are also a number of other rules that you must remember. For example, this is the inline fusible link that you saw before. This is also a fusible link. It is always shown inside a blue box. This type differs from the previous type because it is inserted in a case. 100 amps indicates the capacity and corresponds to the 2.0 type that we looked at before. This is the engine control system circuitry. If we look at the ECU terminals, we see that they are listed as A, B, and C. This is done in order to distinguish the connectors if 3 connectors are inserted in a single ECU, as is shown here. 22A is terminal number 22 of the E9 connector. 1B is terminal number 1 of the E7 connector. 7C is terminal number 7 of the E6 connector. This indicates a shielded wire used to prevent electrical noise. This is how it actually looks. The shield of the shielded wire should always be connected to the ground wire. This is the charging system circuit. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . This is known